Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Nürburgring. This is round 6 of our fantastic 2024 calendar with the Ferrari Challenge. In prospect, 30 minutes plus 1 lap of great racing from our Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli drivers. And this is what the Nürburgring looks like in the Eifel region of Germany. It's an absolutely extraordinary place, steeped in history, steeped in heritage, and it is round 6. Having been to Mugello, to Balaton, to Jerez, Portimao, La Casale, here we are in Germany, before the finale mondiale, which will come in Imola between the 16th and the 20th of October. This circuit then, the GP configuration we use for the Ferrari Challenge, contains 15 turns. 6 of them are left and 9 of them are right as the track winds its way through the Eifel region topography, if you will. It's quite undulating in places and a great circuit which really demands much of our Ferrari Challenge drivers. It's an epic place. Love being here, love the Ferrari Challenge cars on this track. And of course this is part of the Ferrari Racing Days event as well, which makes it even more special. Track temperature currently 32 degrees. The air temperature is 21. Just a tad of wind, 3 kilometers per hour, and there's blue skies and the sun is shining, and that's not always a given here in this particular part of Germany. So we are blessed with great weather conditions. And yes, Trofeo Pirelli AM cars will be out on track to deliver 30 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. And what a season it has been in 2024. The opening round at Mugello featured veterans like Timo Glock and Philippe Barron, but it would be young star Benz Valent who would claim his first win of the season. Giacomo Altoe made a perfect entry at Balaton Park with a double win before, at the next round in Jerez, Philippe Barron returned to the top step of the podium.
It was all playing into my cards today, I have to say. I had a very good car from my team.
It was Luca Ludwig's turn to shine, though, when it came to Portimao, with a fantastic move on Giacomo Altoe, giving him the victory before the Italian turned the tables in La Casale, getting the win after what was an epic battle.
It was a heartbreaking, a crazy race. Luca really did a great drive. He was super quick. I was struggling to keep up, but then I said, okay, last lap, I have to try. And then we had a really safe, but also on the limit fight on track, so really good credit to him.
In Trofeo Pirelli AM, Klaus Sebranson got his campaign off to the best start with a win before Hendrik Viol would snatch victory in race 2, much to his team's delight. Sebranson would hit a rough patch, though, with several unfortunate instances at Balaton and Jerez, putting a dent in his championship hopes before launching a frantic comeback, which he did with aplomb.
I've been unlucky in a couple of situations, so this is just a major win for me, and to still compete in the championship, I need to continue pushing on that one, and today I showed I have the pace, so I'm happy.
And since Jerez, the Dane has now won 5 races in a row, seriously boosting his title hopes. So Klaus Sebranson then, see there as we recapped on the season so far. And that's critical as we look at the Drivers' Championship right now, with Giacomo Altoe 27 points ahead of Benz Valent, who is P2, Philippe Barron is P3, and Luca Ludwig doing some chasing from P4. That's the way it looks in terms of Trofeo Pirelli drivers in their particular championship, and so many young stars in our Trofeo Pirelli grid, including the likes of Giacomo Altoe and Benz Valent, who are P1 and P2 in that championship. Down on the grid we go now to see some of our protagonists ahead of our 30-minute plus 1 lap race. Yes, we could just see Pino Frascaro there in the background. This is Andrew Morrow, Trofeo Pirelli champion in the UK last year, coming and racing in Europe this year. Also racing in Europe this year is Dylan Medler from North America, from Miami in fact, and he actually has a dual campaign racing in the EU series of the Ferrari Challenge and also in the North America series as well. This, though, is Max Mugelli, and Max Mugelli, perhaps his qualifying not where he would necessarily like to be. He's going from P6 in class, and there is Klaus Zabranson, who I think it's fair to say if you watched our season recap, you'll realise he's had something of a roller coaster season. I think you would agree with that, wouldn't you, Nico?
Yeah, absolutely. Klaus Branson is really featured in all of the races, and sometimes it has been to his detriment, unfortunately. But as we saw, I mean, 5 races, 1 in a row. Very, very good. Obviously, P3 in class doesn't mean he's got the best starting position, but he's made the overtakes come when he needed to over the last few events.
Well, absolutely right. He's picked it up. As you can see, you cannot mistake the colour scheme on the Hendrik Viol car. That blend of purple and yellow works so well on this wonderful 296 Challenge car, engineered by the Scuderia Prague team. And there you can see the 2 cars there. It's Marco Zanassi alongside him. And the grid is always a very busy place, full of apprehension ahead of the start of any Ferrari Challenge race. And this, the Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers together. Marco Zanassi, of course, a Trofeo Pirelli AM driver who's qualified P4 in class. Good to see spectators here to really enjoy the racing. And as you can see, everyone is enjoying it, and the race hasn't even got underway yet. And in terms of cars, it's a very big challenging circuit for us to look forward to. Going from pole position, Luca Ludwig then. I would suggest that Luca Ludwig, probably the advantage he had over Giacomo Altoe when it came to qualifying is the fact that Luca Ludwig would know every single centimetre of tarmac on this track. Like his father before him, Klaus Ludwig, of course, who is also here this weekend as well. So, yeah, when you've got the benefit of knowing the circuit inside out, Nico, it must be worth a couple of 100s to you. And actually, Luca Ludwig would suggest that is the case.
Yeah, I'm sure, and especially on qualifying 1. Remember, all the qualifying was done on Friday because we were at a Racing Days event, and the schedule is a bit different. The track conditions were a little bit difficult because it was a little bit of a drying track, and therefore, obviously, track knowledge in very different conditions, obviously, is probably worth more 10s rather than 100s. When it's all nice and tidy and dry, it's maybe a few 100s, but in these conditions, probably more.
Herbert Guys, you could see there, a very much local driver, and great to see Herbert here bringing real colour and spectacle to our Ferrari Challenge grid. So Ludwig, Giacomo Altoe are on the front row of our Pirelli grid, and for our Pirelli AM drivers, it was a brilliant qualifying from Andrew Morrow for the Charles Hurst team, and then Michael Verhagen making his debut in the Ferrari Challenge. They are P1 and P2 in the Pirelli AM drivers grid. And there you can see as the grid is beginning to clear now and we get ready for the race and the formation lap to start. We've had an epic 2024 season and so much to look forward to at the Finale Mondiale. And then, of course, it will be into 2025. I have to say, just when you think things can't get any better, Ferrari come up with a calendar like that. That is going to be awesome. Stand by, we'll bring you the grid in full then. Our Pirelli drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen. Our Pirelli AM drivers have a white strip across the top of the windscreen. That's how you can identify what each driver's category is. Armin Arifport goes from the back row of the grid, going from P24 and 23, Luigi Coluccio, and also Matthias Thoman. Then it's Axel Sardigan and David Akabadzi, two Pirelli AM drivers together there, with Ivan Velasco-Sanchez and Otto Blank, P20 and 19. Max Mugelli then is P18 on the grid with James Owen alongside him. And then P16, Hanno Laskowski and Andreas Berg Sorensen, another one of the young superstars in the Trofeo Pirelli category. Angelo Fontana and Federico El Rifai go from P13 and 14. Then it's Ben Svalent and Herbert Geiss on the next row of the grid, where we find Philippe Barron and Danilo Del Favaro on row 5 to row 4 right now, with Hendrik Viol and Marco Zanassi. That's going to be a lively row at the start of the race. And Klaus Sebranson and Michael Verhagen doing a very good job in qualifying. To row 2, where we find Andrew Morrow, pole man for Pirelli AM, and then Dylan Medler alongside him. Then it's Giacomo Altoe and Luca Ludwig. Goes from P1 on the grid. And Luca Ludwig.
Hey guys, qualifying is over, and what an intense qualifying it has been. Pole position for us, for Team Mertel Motorsport, extremely happy. It was one of the most intense qualifications I have had in my life. Started in wet conditions on wet tires and changed to slicks at the right moment. Had to survive the first minutes, and in the last minute I could clinch the pole position, so extremely happy for everybody, and now looking forward to the race.
As has always been the case with Luca Ludwig. Big talent and big hair as well. Luca Ludwig going from pole position then for Mertel Motorsport, and Giacomo Altoe is right alongside him, and Giacomo knows he can't afford to let Luca escape up the road. Going into turn number 1 here at the Nürburgring, it is something of a funnel, Nico. It's a pinch point. It's one of my favorite parts of the track because you're running downhill to almost a hairpin right-hander. There's a little bump going into the turn. There are so many different lines you can use there. Going to be very interesting when it comes to turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so much drama we anticipate, and drama because there are so many drivers, because of the changing conditions, caught out of position. Ben Svellen, Philip Barron, way further down the order than they would want to be, and they will be trying to make their moves early and often.
So the drivers line up side by side in grid formation, then the Richard Mills safety car peels off into the pit lane. It is the responsibility of Luca Ludwig and Giacomo Altoe to control the pace of the rolling start here in the Ferrari Challenge. Might I suggest you hold on to everything, because this is going to be very exciting. We throw the lights to the top of the screen so that you can see when the lights go out and we go racing. Well, Andrew Morrow absolutely on a mission, trying to split himself up between Giacomo Altoe and Dylan Medler, and Luca Ludwig escaping as best he can, 3 abreast. Going into turn number 1 doesn't always work. Hendrik Viol wide outside for the Pirelli AM drivers. Thankfully, all the drivers get through turn 1 with no issues whatsoever. Brilliant driving from our Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM stars then, as they make their way through turns 2, 3, and 4, with Luca Ludwig leading the way and Dylan Medler up to P2. So great start from Dylan Medler, and Klaus Sebranson on something of a mission as well. So lots of drivers trying to make their moves early on in this race. Of course, Klaus Sebranson needs to get on terms with Andrew Morrow as quickly as he can.
Yeah, definitely, and he's got Giacomo Altoe ahead of him, so he will try to cling on to the Giacomo Altoe car and maybe get a toe past Andrew Morrow. He's done that in Jerez already, used that strategy to perfection. Early stages, and as you said, we're glad we got through the first funnel all right.
Hendrik Viol taking a brave move on the inside there. I think that was alongside Ben Svalent. It seemed to work, and well, as they go around the hairpin now at the farthest part of the GP configuration, I think it was Matthias Thoman that perhaps went round. You can just see that at the back of the picture. Here comes Hendrik Viol. It was David Akabadzi, I think, in the number 23 car. David Akabadzi then returning, as there is the number 89 car of Klaus Sebranson. Now, he is one of our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. He's currently running P2. And there you can see the whole queue of cars, each of them trying to jostle for position. Andreas Berg-Sorensen running quite wide there. Dylan Medler into the chicane. There's Andrew Morrow, and there is Giacomo Altoe. So Andrew Morrow then, who is leading for our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, Luca Ludwig leading for Trofeo Pirelli, and Giacomo Altoe goes through on Andrew Morrow. So Giacomo Altoe, next in his target sights will be the Ferrari Miami racer, and that is Dylan Medler. So it's Ludwig from Dylan Medler from Giacomo Altoe. Then we see the best of the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, Andrew Morrow, but Klaus Branson is right on his shirt tails now. And there's Marco Zanassi as they go side by side there with Philip Barron. And coming around the outside there was Danilo Del Favero.
Yeah, and Philip Barron went backwards rather than forwards at the beginning of the race, with Ben Savalent getting the better of him. Benz is up the road a little bit, and Philip Barron is now trying to follow in his footsteps to get on terms with the other Pirelli drivers in front of the queue.
Luca Ludwig stretching his legs, trying to build a margin as best he can. 1.4 seconds at the moment between Luca Ludwig and Dylan Medler. Then it is Giacomo Altoe. They are the top three in the Trofeo Pirelli cars. The Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, it's Andrew Morrow, Klaus Branson, then it's Mikael Verhagen, who is P3 at the moment, but Hendrik Viol will want to have something to do about that, I feel sure, in due course. Remind you, 30 minutes plus 1 lap of great race action to come from our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli categories. Luca Ludwig really getting going now, 1.7 seconds ahead of Dylan Medler. And Giacomo Altoe right on the back of Dylan Medler. Now this is a fight for P2. Giacomo Altoe needs to get by Dylan Medler. Dylan Medler needs to hold on to this P2 place. And Giacomo is going to be given no easy ride, I can assure you of that, as we ride on board with him right now. Down the back straight here at the Nürburgring, at the back of the paddock here. There's the telemetry from his car in 6th gear, 251 kilometers per hour. Up to 260 kilometers per hour before braking. You throw the car through the chicane, and what a great move from Giacomo Altoe as Dylan Medler ran a bit wide. It was great to be on board with that. And so now Giacomo Altoe finds himself P2, and he can put the chase on to Luca Ludwig. Well, Luca Ludwig has got a margin of 2.8 seconds. That ain't enough, truthfully, for the young hotshot that is Giacomo Altoe. Into turn number 1, just try and kiss the apex as you run downhill if you can. Then it's turn number 2, run wide, then dive into the turn. He sets the fastest lap, a 1:59.151. There's no surprise there. Just running over the rumble strips of the curbs through this sequence of turns. Here is our race leader, Luca Ludwig. Fastest laps then have come from both drivers that are running P2 in the respective races. Giacomo Altoe for the Pirelli drivers and Klaus Branson for the Pirelli AM drivers.
Yeah, and Klaus Branson, now that Dylan Medler, rather Giacomo Altoe, has gone by Andrew Morrow, the two are back to back, and you can see them there, the red and white and the green and black car, and you can see Klaus Branson is closing in on Andrew Morrow. This would be, once it gets into the phase of a battle, for the lead of the AM race.
Andrew Morrow, a race winner in Europe. He took, if memory serves me correctly, the win in race 1 at Balaton. Let's get a replay of the start. And Andrew Morrow was on it straight away, almost getting between Giacomo Altoe and Dylan Medler as they ran down into turn number 1. Got to be brave and bold here, and well, you could see being brave and bold. Thankfully, all the drivers, and Klaus Branson and Hendrik Viol were certainly in that mix, as too was everybody else. See it from our drone here, which gives us a fantastic vantage point. And that was Andrew Morrow's move on Giacomo Altoe. But he got Dylan Medler on the inside as well. And whilst all that was going on, as they went 3 abreast into turn number 1, which, as I mentioned at the start of the program, is something of a funnel. You see so many cars normally into the runoff area and all sorts of strife, but not so with Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. Looked like Danilo Del Favero may have made contact with one car, but no harm done by anyone. Riding on board with Luca Ludwig, that's how close Dylan Medler and Andrew Morrow got. Carrying so much speed into turn number 1, leave the braking to the last possible moment, and well, fortune favors the brave sometimes, and I have to say, when Luca had put the car on pole position from his qualifying effort, we kind of knew that he ought to get the start done all right. Marco Zanassi really making contact there with the number 9 car of Danilo Del Fabro as they bounce the cars through the chicane. That in replay. This, back to our live pictures then. As Andrew Morrow is defending from Klaus Branson. Now, Andrew Morrow is leading the Trofeo Pirelli Am race. Klaus Branson is P2. They're both Pirelli Am drivers. You can tell that from the white strip across the top of the windscreen. And it's Morrow from Branson, from Michael Verhagen, who still holds on to that P3 place, despite the attentions of Hendrik Viol. But Hendrik is a few car lengths behind at the moment. So over the course of this race, as it develops, I'm sure that gap will narrow. For the moment, Andrew Morrow, as we go into our garages as well to watch the action in, we see it from a team's perspective as well, splitting the screen so that you can see the emotions inside the garages as well as the action on the tarmac too. Where can Klaus Branson make a move on Andrew Morrow? One of the places potentially is into the chicane. Can he dive to the inside? Don't think he was quite close enough. You've got to be really, really brave there. Put it to the inside, almost send it into that chicane. And I don't think Klaus was quite close enough. He's taken a look on the entry into turn number 15, but Andrew right royally closed the door. Now, another opportunity is going to come at the end of this straight, going into turn number 1. If Klaus Branson can get to the inside of Andrew Morrow, in the meantime, making his way back up the order is the number 13 car until Luigi Coluccio found himself pirouetting. It was Axel Sardigan that joined in that poetic double spin. Right on board now with the Mertel Motorsport driver that is Luca Ludwig. Margin 2.261 seconds. We have the telemetry as well. You can see when he brakes, when he puts it onto the loud pedal and accelerates as hard as he can, running downhill now. Look at the speed building. 5th gear into 6th gear right now before heavy braking for the hairpin, but he leaves it as late as he dares. It's great to have that information. You can see exactly what the driver is seeing on his information screen as well. And Luca Ludwig then through the S's right now, just kissing the curbs. Millimetrically perfect. Luca Ludwig knows how to drive this track. Great to watch, great to be on board. Disappointment for Axel Sardingen from Hertha Racing. Regrettably, he's out of the race. For the moment, Nico, I'm perhaps not surprised that Giacomo Altoe is not making the huge gains on Luca Ludwig that I thought perhaps he would.
Well, Luca Ludwig obviously has lots of track familiarity, lots of track knowledge, and Giacomo Altoe, I think for him it was very important that he got past Dylan Medler early and wasn't stuck behind another car, allowing Luca Ludwig to get further up the order. So he knows he's got 20 minutes, he can't overdrive the tires, because if he gets on terms or gets close to him, but then has nothing left in his tires, there is very little to be gained. I think part of the strategy is let's see how the race develops. Maybe there's a safety car and I don't have to close the gap.
Yes.
And then I have the pressure tires towards the end. Strategy always a big part of the Ferrari challenge, even in a sprint race setup.
Much closer is the battle for P1 in Trofeo Pirelli Am as Klaus Branson taking a look at Andrew Morrow now. Andrew Morrow almost perfect through turn number 1, but Klaus Branson is all over the back of the Charles Hurst car then that is running in P1 at the moment. Andrew Morrow, one of the coolest, calmest drivers that you could ever meet, truthfully, and he knows he's up against it and he's metaphorically sticking his elbows out. And Klaus Branson, he runs a risk here of over-driving in terms of trying to get by Andrew Morrow. Andrew not phased, as you can see, is defending his track position, which is his right. Klaus Branson may be quicker, he's got to find a way by, and at the moment he's been denied that. Klaus Branson remains the fastest lap holder of the Pirelli Am drivers, and you can see the speed between both of them, and just what it looks like in terms of the speed that they are able to develop around this GP configuration of the Nürburgring circuit. So Andrew Morrow leading Klaus Branson. Michael Verhagen remains in P3 ahead of Hendrik Viol. Good showing also from Federico El Rifai, the Rosso Corsa driver who's P5 in Trofeo Pirelli Am. So Branson then continuing to pile the pressure on Andrew Morrow. At the moment, no mistake being made.
Indeed, and in the background you could see that Ben Valent is just getting close to Michael Verhagen, and that means that he might become part of that battle in some way as a Pirelli driver, potentially quicker. Him trying to overtake both of them might have an effect on how those two go about their battles. Klaus Branson has the advantage. He is leading in the championship, and Andrew Morrow is not his closest competitor. So if it stayed that way, it would be okay for him. And maybe Andrew Morrow is thinking like, okay, maybe at some point Klaus will think better of it than attacking. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, he certainly was in attack mode through turn 15. Is he going to do the same going into turn number 1? Andrew Morrow covers it off. But now Klaus Branson goes for it, but has he carried too much speed into turn 1? Andrew Morrow goes for the switchback, and it was a relatively easy retain of position, or was it? No, Klaus Branson keeps the momentum. Side by side, these two fantastic drivers go. Klaus Branson and Andrew Morrow. The outside quickly becomes the inside for the next turn. So again, if Andrew Morrow can hold on to the momentum, but fair play to Klaus Branson. I thought he'd lost the move through turn number 1, but he kept his foot in. And you've got to be made of brave stuff to do that. He did it, and he's gone through. So it's a change on Trofeo Pirelli Am. Leading now is Klaus Branson from this man, Andrew Morrow, who is P2. Michael Verhagen is P3. So Branson always looked like he was quicker. And let's rerun the fun. Into turn 1 then. Andrew tried to cover up the inside line, perhaps didn't do it quite quickly enough. Then it looked like Klaus had run too wide, but he just kept his foot in here. That was the critical place to do it. So fair play to Klaus Branson. He was aggressive when he needed to be, and he made sure that that hole was 296 challenge wide. Not a touch between the two cars. A really, really very good overtake. But it was at this point here where I thought potentially he might lose out. But no, he kept his foot in, and he got the inside line for turn 2. So, wow, great stuff.
Absolutely. Great respect for both drivers, and great respect for driving between them as we pick up our leader, Luca Ludwig, as we see some investigation for something that happened further down the order. Luca Ludwig, he is holding on to his lead. The lead kind of roughly 2 seconds, give or take. It hasn't changed much over the last few laps. So fairly static, and with Dylan Medler in P3 in Pirelli, he's about 8 seconds behind the two. So unless something dramatic changes, probably the win in Pirelli will come to either of those two drivers.
I think that's fair. Luca Ludwig then just seemingly managing the gap between himself and Giacomo Altoe. Then Dylan Medler is running P3. Ben Valent, of course, he's P4, but he's got 3 Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers ahead of him. As we go into the Mertel Motorsport garage then, the team, of course, that engineer Luca Ludwig. Luca's father Klaus here this weekend, urging his son on. And car number 23, you'll see this on screen. David Akabadze is going to get a time penalty of 10 seconds for overtaking under yellow flags. There is the information. We get it sent to us just moments before it appears on the screen. So that really, where is David Akabadze? P15. He will drop down the order with a 10-second time penalty to be added to his overall race time. Progression, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, Klaus Branson up 2 places then from the start of the race. Ben Valent has made up 5, and Federico El Rifai up 3 places. So movement chart you can see on the left-hand side of the screen as Luca Ludwig maintains that 2.1 second gap over Giacomo Altoe at the moment and breaks into the chicane, really jumps over the entry curbs, and Luca knows very well what he can do, how far he can push through that chicane, and he continues to push. And the gap evolution that you can see on screen as well. We're going to get a live gap between Luca Ludwig and Giacomo Altoe as he crosses the timing line now. Well, I said Luca is managing it, and that would suggest at 2.4 he is doing exactly that. Nico, you make a fair point. Giacomo Altoe hasn't got to push too hard. What he wants to do is bank points. That's critical. And from a racing driver's perspective, sometimes if you go all out for the win, make yourself vulnerable to those that are behind you. You know, difficult for me to say, but you must at some stage think of the long game, and we are reaching the stage of the championship now where the long game is important.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's Ben Valent who's P2 in the championship going into this race, and there is a big gap, and there is a move made further down the order in the AMs, and
Otto Blank then losing out. Otto Blank's very distinctive green 296 Challenge car. As we ride on board right now, and you can see from a driver's eye perspective what this Nürburgring circuit looks like. Great to see the dashboard as well, and the display that the drivers see as you climb uphill through these S's then in 5th gear. Still building speed. Then up into this left-hander where you drop a gear or two and brake just a tad going into that. And then the long run down this back straight. There is a turn in the middle of it, but it's more of a kink really, and you take it absolutely full chat flat. And that's precisely what's done there, heading up towards this chicane. And hard on the brakes. Take as much of the curve as you dare. Great to see that onboard shot.
yeah, thanks Giacomo Altoe for giving us that ride. As oh, there is Philip Barron, who runs just a little bit, dips 2 wheels into the gravel, and they now go through exactly the same patch. Is Ben Svelland able to do something about Michael Verhagen ahead of him? Not on this occasion, but he kind of has to try and get by, because otherwise he will fall prey to the Philip Barron charging Barron Motorsport car right behind him. And then there is obviously still Hendrik Viol, who'd also like to be part of the fight.
I just wonder whether Hendrik has been quite clever here and let Philip Barron do all the hard work. Maybe, but Philip is a driver that always gives it 120%. Ben Svelland, a young driver then, whose aspirations, of course, for endurance racing. He knows that being and doing well in the Ferrari Challenge is a great springboard for his young motor racing career. And he's got, dare I say it, a slightly older competitor right behind him, but no less a very successful competitor in Philip Barron, who, of course, a multiple champion in the Ferrari Challenge in his own right, and actually before then was a fine single-seater racer. So Philip Barron knows how to pedal a car, that's for sure. However, Ben Svelland is soaking it up. What he does need to try and do is find a way past Michael Verhagen, which thus far has denied him.
Indeed. Obviously, those two are running in P4 and P5 in Pirelli, Ben Svelland and Philip Barron are, and Michael Verhagen, he's P3 in class, and while those two behind him are not in his class, he certainly needs them, wants them as a cushion towards the other Pirelli M drivers behind them, including Hendrik Viol.
Absolutely. Yes, it's a great strategy from Verhagen. The longer he can keep these two behind, as you say, it keeps the likes of Federico Alrifai and Hendrik Viola, Marco Zanassi, all of them away from shouting distance, if you will. Ben Svelland then been a really impressive. He's a very quiet and unassuming young man, but is hugely talented, and it's been a joy to watch Benson. Benson's father, Tibor, also races in the Ferrari Challenge as well. They're made of strong stock, you know. And into the chicane we go right now, as looking very lively here, Philip Barron. Well, did Philip Barron manage to, well, doing everything he can. I mean, this is what's impressing me about Benz. He is just absorbing this pressure like a sponge, and he's not making one error. Now, Barron will have another go, undeniably going into turn number 1. Ben Svelland to the inside to hold on to that optimum line going into turn number 1 initially. Oh, and a little touch. Well, that was completely unintentional, but it has played into the hands potentially of Hendrik Viol, as he's now on the outside of both Philip Barron and Ben Svelland, gets run wide, and then is able to, like, thread through the needle of the Pirelli drivers, or is he?
Yes, indeed, he is. He got the better of Philip Barron. That's what happens when you try and attack. Again, no positions changed within class, but obviously Philip Barron certainly doesn't want to have a cushion ahead of him towards Ben Svelland. And Hendrik Viol maybe will make it 2 Pirelli drivers in prey in one sector, and it depends how they get out of there, but I think he's done it. But it's all going to come down to the hairpin, where Ben Svelland will have the inside line, but can Hendrik Viol be ahead of him? Not quite, I think.
Yes, Ben was on the optimum line, wasn't he? Now Philip Barron is right on the gearbox of Ben Svelland, but loses out once again to Hendrik Viol, who just gives it a final charge into that left-hander. And that's what secured that position. Now, the irony is, they're in different classes, but what a fight this is going on as Philippe Barron now seizes his opportunity, or does he? Ben Svalin doing everything he can to hold on to this. So there is Hendrik Viol in the purple and yellow car. There's Ben Svalin. There is Philippe Barron. And Ben Svalin will have a go, perhaps going into the chicane in a few corners' time, maybe. He'll set himself up for turn number 1, because you can do that by a good exit out of the chicane. It gives you a perfect trajectory around turn 15 and then sets you up for turn 1. Barron is pushing really, really hard here. Hendrik Viol is trying to escape up the road now. And the reason he's doing that is because he wants to put as much between himself and those following, which are the likes of Marco Sanassi and Federico Alrifai.
Absolutely, and there's also Michael Verhagen, who's already getting into his target side. So
yes,
that's one thing. A brief look at the front of the race. Luka Ludwig 2.9 seconds to the good of Giacomo Altoe, so we don't miss anything there, and that allows us to focus on this battle going on between the Pirelli and the Pirelli M drivers, showing how slim the margin between the classes can be.
And I've just looked at the clock. There's only 7 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. Where has the race gone? It has been scintillating start to finish. Oh, this is a great shot. I love seeing this. Luka Ludwig hard at work inside that car then. 6th gear, you can see him actually make the change with the paddle shift. Down 2 gears now. This is Luka Ludwig fighting with that car, although he's not so much fighting with it, he is at one with this car. The car and driver combo is absolutely perfect. Up to 5th gear right now, building as much speed as possible now, up to 6th, 240 kilometers per hour. Make that 250, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nearly to 260 kilometers per hour before he presses the brake pedal again. These eyes, absolutely menacing all around, knowing exactly where the car is on track and where he needs to really, really push. He's doing a good job and managing this margin between himself and Giacomo Altoe like the true professional he is. Going into turn number 1 now. Let's get a live gap as they cross the timing line. It was 3.5 seconds. It's now 3.944. Luka Ludwig is on a mission.
Definitely, and also is Hendrik Viol. We saw him overtake the 2 Pirelli drivers. Michael Verhagen now in his target size, only 3.5 tenths between them. So as we give all the credit for our front runners.
Fontana's in strife, Nico. You can see here in replay as he's chasing down, just catching the back on a curb there. And that was enough to send the Angelo Fontana car around. We saw that in replay. No harm done, but he was chasing down and just pushed a bit too hard. Dropped one wheel onto a curb, which just upset the balance of the car, and around he went. Forgive me interrupting.
No, absolutely. And Dylan Madler, just for reference, is 13.7 seconds behind our 2 front runners, and this is what we were talking about.
This is for a podium, isn't it?
He's for P4 in the AMS. No, it's for P3 and P4. Correct. Yes, absolutely. This is for a podium. So Hendrik Viol, he had to do the very, very hard stuff of getting past the Pirelli drivers, which is no mean feat whatsoever for anybody.
And of course, Michael Verhagen, who is the red car that he is chasing right now, because they're being chased, it's stacking them all up as well. So this could be really, really exciting. This potentially is for the final podium place in Trofeo Pirelli. And the red car is Michael Verhagen, and the purple and yellow car is Hendrik Viol. So Hendrik Viol wants to get past the Verhagen car and give himself a podium. He's got 4.5 minutes plus 1 lap. Ben Svalint, of course, well, he's just as quick, and what he wants to do is get past as many as possible so that he hasn't got Philippe Barron up his trumpet.
Yeah, all very, very different motivations, but all want to get up the road as quickly as possible. And also a shout out to Federico Alrifai. It's his first race in the Ferrari Challenge, and he's really, really doing well. He'll actually start on pole in class tomorrow. So just as a newcomer, just great racing and great performance, how he's keeping up with the likes of Philippe Barron.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So, through the chicane they come then, and for the moment, Hendrik Viol was losing out a little bit to the pace of Michael Verhagen, and also Philippe Barron getting a bit close to Ben Svalint. So as they run down towards turn number 1 right now, there is Michael Verhagen running in P3. And Philippe Barron just taking a look at the inside of Ben Svalin, but he wasn't really close enough to be able to do anything going into turn number 1. There's Hendrik Viol. Then he is running P4 in Pirelli Am. Of course, he would love to be on the podium. Scuderia Prague team then engineering that number 92 car for Hendrik Viol. And he's only got 3 minutes plus a lap to do it. So really impressive driving from Mikko Verhagen, who has not fallen prey to the pressure from Hendrik Viol thus far.
Absolutely, and talking about newcomers to the series,
Another one.
he is another one, and he is on for a podium if he can keep that for the remaining 3 minutes plus 1 lap. And thus far, he hasn't set a wheel wrong, but equally, he hasn't been under pressure that much yet. So will the pressure tell? Hendrik Viol is doing everything to try and find out over the last and next few minutes.
Of course, he will throw everything at it. Just see a bit of dust there being kicked up, and I think that was because some had made its way onto the racing surface from an off from one of the other drivers previously, as Hendrik Viol just dips into the dust as well. That unsettles the back end of the car. You can see the dust cloud behind us. So, for the moment, Mikko Verhagen is pretty comfortable in that provisional P3 place. Hendrik Viol is the one that's going to do all the hard work, and he'll try and pile as much pressure onto Mikko Verhagen as he possibly can. Thus far, it's not worked. Don't think Hendrik is going to be close enough going into the chicane on this occasion to have a go, but it's a very, very easy point to miss your braking point, which Mikko Verhagen did not do. Did it absolutely perfectly. So through he goes. Now, if Hendrik could get onto the coattails of Mikko Verhagen, he might be able to have a go going into turn number 1. He's certainly getting closer. They take different lines through that turn 15. Is Hendrik close enough? I don't think he is, truthfully. Passes our commentary studio here. We're live from the Nürburgring. And there you can see the Scuderia Prague team as we split the shot, who, of course, will be encouraging Hendrik Viol for all they can as Philippe Barron gets closer to Ben Svalin in the battle just behind them. So Hendrik Viol now inside line as Mikko Verhagen ran a bit wide, but that enabled him to carry a little bit more speed. So perhaps this is the lap when Hendrik Viol is going to turn it up and turn the wick up as hard as high as he can to try and secure a potential podium out of this race, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is the live championship in the Trofeo Pirelli Am, and you can see 33 points to the good is Klaus de Branson. Not enough to clinch the championship on this race, obviously, but maybe a chance tomorrow. But for the moment, we stick with this battle, and it looks like Luka Ludwig will hit the timing line with some seconds remaining on the clock, which will give all the drivers another lap. So that would be this one plus 2 more rest. I think a little bit of a sideways moment there from Verhagen.
Hendrik Viol almost taking advantage of that. Oh, and he was really bold there. Mikko Verhagen loses the back end of the car, but controls it beautifully. He may have lost a place, but he's won the admiration of us for holding on to that car as Philippe Barron and Ben Svalin are side by side right behind as well. And I think Barron has gone through. Scuderia Prague are absolutely delighted that Hendrik Viol has gone through, and Ben Svalin, big loser in that battle that was going on. Philippe just waited for his opportunity and seized it, and Hendrik Viol, well, opportunistic. It was advantage Hendrik Viol at that point because Verhagen lost the back end of the car. Respect to both drivers. Racing room was given, and Hendrik Viol, the pressure and pressure and pressure, and there you can see Adam Horn there on the right-hand side congratulating his driver for putting himself into P3. In P1, though, it's Luka Ludwig.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to go back to the scene, you talked about the dust earlier, and maybe there was just a little bit of dust which got onto the tires, and therefore that compromised the grip and led to that little bit of a sideways moment. And yes, Ben Svalin, the big loser, because also Federico Alrifi got through, so he lost 3 positions in one go, and losing no positions for the time being, certainly, and not under any immediate threat is Luka Ludwig. It's going to be the rest of this lap, plus 1 more.
4 seconds to the good over Giacomo Altoe, who is some 12 seconds to the good over Dylan Medler, who is running in P3. Apologies to the Ferrari of Miami driver, Dylan Medler. We've not mentioned him much, but he's kind of been out on his own, really, in that P3 position. But doing a very, very good job. I remind you, he's racing in the North American Series as well. Doing a lot of racing is Dylan Medler, a very talented young driver who's about 7 foot tall, to be fair. And Live championship points then. Giacomo Altoe on 141, Philippe Baron on 109, with Ben Svalent on 108, if the race were to finish right now. Of course, just looking at Pirelli Am, as we saw Hendrik Viol getting into that P3 position, fight is very much still on for Hendrik Viol, potentially in the Pirelli Am Championship, as Luca Ludwig crosses the line to start the final lap in this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Race 1 of 2 this weekend here at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, and there's Luca Ludwig, and for the final time at race pace for today, he takes that first lap or first turn into this infield section, turns 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And he controls it beautifully. He doesn't have to push anymore. He's got 4 seconds, and even if he loses 3.5 at the end of the lap, who cares? It's all about position, and Giacomo Altoe, I think, understands that, or understood some time ago that for him, banking points for P2 is going to be the best for the championship and the best that he can realistically achieve today, barring maybe something like a safety car, which would bring him back right behind Luca Ludwig.
Yeah. Final lap. Ludwig, Altoe, Medler, top 3 for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. For our Am drivers, Klaus Sabranson, Andrew Morrow, and Hendrik Viol. What a race it has been. I said, with about 7 minutes left to run in the race, where's the 23 minutes gone? Because it feels like it's been just like that, because it's been action-packed from the very start of this race. Credit to all of our drivers out there in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli categories, both Pirelli and Pirelli Am, as we look at Giacomo Altoe, who, what impresses me, Nico, about Giacomo Altoe is he's a very considered young man. Thinks about all the ramifications of what he does. Initially, he was trying to put the chase onto Luca Ludwig. I think he soon realized it would be futile and that he was better off just absorbing and banking as many points as possible, because whatever he did, the superior knowledge perhaps that this young man has over this track, and this is Luca Ludwig I'm talking about as he rounds the final turn and will head towards the checkered flag. He's seen a few of them here at the Nürburgring, and he sees another one for Mertel Motorsport in the Ferrari Challenge. Luca Ludwig, race winner. Giacomo Altoe, P2, and it will be a little while before we see the familiar red colours of Dylan Medler cross the timing line, but for Trofeo Pirelli Am, Klaus Sabranson with an epic move on Andrew Morrow, and there is Dylan Medler. And there is Klaus Sabranson. So Dylan Medler takes P3 for Trofeo Pirelli. Here comes Klaus Sabranson then heading towards the timing line. And I think Hendrik Viola's got by Andrew Morrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is for P2. Oh, it's a drag race between the two of them, and Hendrik Viol takes P2 from Andrew Morrow. So whilst we were watching Klaus Sabranson head towards the timing line, I suspect Hendrik Viol maybe got Andrew Morrow through the chicane and through turn number 15.
We're looking at the timing screen. Indeed, it looks like that's where the final sector is, where he did the overtake. But when Viol got past Verhagen, there was a big gap from Andrew Morrow behind him. So maybe Andrew Morrow had some kind of issue or a problem earlier, which brought Hendrik Viol back into play. But whatever happened, Hendrik Viol, you know, all the hard work he did against the Pirelli drivers, then getting past Verhagen, and then eventually he was awarded big time today with P2. And if he ends up sniffing a championship or actually becoming champion, this is the race which we will point to and say, this was all the difference.
Well, it was only a few moments ago that I mentioned that, you know, the gap is still, you know, it's still not enough, is it, for Klaus Sabranson? He's not comfortable.
Yeah. So from P4 all the way up into P2 and
in replay. Thanks, guys. It was another bold move from Hendrik Viol, it has to be said, as and he ran off track as well.
And had to do it again.
There was a squeeze then from Andrew trying to come back here. Just wonder whether that might be looked at by race control. I don't know. I think it's racing. Truthfully, rubbing is racing. Come on.
Well, we will find out. Race control, Claudio Garavini will certainly have a look at that. But I felt like after the first incident, Hendrik Viol again had to make the overtake, so it wasn't when he ran wide.
No, you're right.
So I think that helps. Well, but no helping needed for Klaus Brunson. He didn't have the great starting position, started in P4 in class, and then made the move in Andrew Morrow, and he did it in a decisive and very, very professional and controlled way, and well, very controlled is what also applies to his championship position. We will get the championship standings, the official ones, later, but he's certainly in a command, and so is this man. Giacomo Alto, he didn't take the win today, but he didn't need it to be in a very, very strong position going into tomorrow.
There's good and healthy respect between both Luca Ludwig and Giacomo Altoe, and I suspect that Giacomo will be the first to go and congratulate Luca. Really, really impressive drives from the likes of Michael Verhagen and also Federico El Rifai that you'd picked up on during the course of our call of that race. So Giacomo then, you can see the, there is the 7-foot-tall Dylan Medler climbing out of the car. So congratulations awarded and offered all round. And Giacomo then receives the Pirelli cap. And we'll get confirmation of the race result then. It is Luca Ludwig from Giacomo Altoe and Dylan Medler. They are the top three Pirelli drivers. Top three Pirelli AM drivers, Klaus Branson, Hendrik Viol and Andrew Morrow. And they were ahead of Michael Verhagen, Philip Barron, Federico El Rifai and Ben Svalint. Those are the top 10 places in the race overall in our official classification, as you can see on screen. Taking P11, Marco Zanassi. Herbert Guys, P12, Danilo Del Favero, 13. Then it was Hanno Laskowski, ahead of Max Mugelli, Angelo Fontana, James Owen. Then it was Luigi Coluccio. It was Ivan Sanchez Velasco. And then Matthias Thoman, Otto Blank, David Akabadze, Armin Arapor, and fortunately Axel Sardigan and Andreas Berg Sorensen out of the race. Let's hear from Luca Ludwig right now.
Luca, wow, congratulations for today. After a very good qualifying session of yesterday, you start from P1 and you win at your home circuit. Congratulations.
Yeah, amazing result. The key was the start, it was a good start, and I think I could open the gap to the competitors, and this was the key success today, and car was running perfectly from the start to the finish. Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. Perfect day.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Well done, Luca Ludwig, and as he says, and as many of the drivers do, they're very humble, aren't they, in terms of thanking the teams, because without the team's support, he says the car was perfect today, and you could see that in the pace that he had, Nico. No question about that. We will be hearing from our Trofeo Pirelli AM race winner as well, and that is Mr. Klaus Branson.
Klaus, congratulations, another important success for you today. How do you feel to win here in this historical track?
It is just amazing. We had some limited time on the practice the last couple of days, so I had a difficult time on the qualification, but during race it was wonderful.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done, Klaus Branson. Right, race one for Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM gets underway. And Andrew Morrow then diving between Dylan Medler and Giacomo Altoe as Luca Ludwig made turn one all about him. And we can see from being on board with other drivers just how close it was getting. As every driver counting for every single centimetre. David Akabadze, regrettably, in the all-yellow car goes around, and Hendrik Viol trying to make up places, and Ben Svalint also doing the same. And riding on board, you can see how close it was getting, and that was a good move from Giacomo Altoe on Andrew Morrow then. And lots of overtaking going on throughout the course of the race. Unfortunately for Axel Sardingen and also for Luigi Coluccio, it was a sideways moment. It was nothing but forwards for this man, and that is Klaus Branson, who in the battle for the Trofeo Pirelli AM was on his way to P1. Philip Barron then making contact with the back end of Ben Svalint, and here's Hendrik Viol then getting past Ben Svalint. Angelo Fontana would find the car going not in the direction that he wanted to at one point in the race. And Hendrik Viol continuing to fight all the way through and finally finding a way past Michael Verhagen. It was great driving from Luca Ludwig, though, who would finish the race with some 4 seconds of margin over Giacomo Altoe. Luca Ludwig would win for Pirelli, and for Pirelli Am it would be Klaus Sebranson that would be the race winner, ahead of Hendrik Viol and Andrew Morrow. There we have it then, the highlights of our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Race 1. There are the race statistics, which are always interesting to look at. And well, best progress came from Luigi Coluccio for Trofeo Pirelli, and for Trofeo Pirelli Am it was Federico Alrifi. There you go. That's not what I would have necessarily thought. Look at the total overtakes, 32 in Trofeo Pirelli Am. We're going to be going up to the podium next, and we'll be celebrating the top 3 in each category.
Okay, we are ready. The podium.
You can hear
race 1, Pirelli
Michael Mambelli, who's about to bring the drivers out onto, it'll be Trofeo Pirelli podium first. In the Trofeo Pirelli Am Drivers' Championship, Klaus Sebranson leading. So there you can see Dylan Medler taking P3, Giacomo Altoe there for P2. And on the top step of the podium, it will be Luca Ludwig. And the German national anthem will play out.
Our claps for the winners, and on the podium,
So the baseball caps go back on.
Manager.
And Mattel Motorsport, of course, very much part of the podium celebrations, because they will be receiving the Copa Teams trophy.
Presented by Reno De Paoli, head of Ferrari European and Africa Hub.
The Reno here then to make the trophy presentations. Reno De Paoli, head of European and Africa Hub. Thank you, Reno. Makes the trophy presentation to Dylan Medler. Giacomo Altoe in receipt of his P2 trophy. And here comes the race winners trophy for Luca Ludwig. Lovely trophies here at the Nürburgring, as is always the case from Ferrari Challenge. Mattel Motorsport then in receipt of the Copa Team trophy as well.
And the Pirelli trophy presented by Mr. Lucio Vergani.
Lucio Vergani is head of Pirelli Motorsport for the Ferrari Challenge, and he makes the Pirelli trophy presentation to Luca Ludwig.
Lucio, Mr. De Paoli, and the Mertel Motorsport all together on the podium.
So everyone together then for the photographs to be taken.
With the trophy. Luca, lift your trophy. Thank you so much. Okay, with photo for you. Okay.
And there they all are then on the podium.
5 seconds, Lucio out, team manager and Reno out of the podium. And now the Battle of Champagne.
Well, that was quite an easy win in terms of the Champagne race. Luca Ludwig didn't really have any competition. He was on that, that's for sure. Top 3 Trofeo Pirelli drivers then for Pellin Racing and Ferrari of Miami. Dylan Medler, P3. Emil Frey Racing. Their driver, Giacomo Altoe. Took that 296 Challenge car to P2. And for Mertel Motorsport, if memory serves me, based in Nuremberg. And their driver, Luca Ludwig. Race win. Up next, of course, we will have the Pirelli Am podium as well, where we will see Andrew Morrow, Hendrik Viol and Klaus Sebranson on the top step of the podium. Still all to play for between Klaus Sebranson and Hendrik Viol in terms of the Drivers' Championship. Comes Andrew Morrow then, the Charles Hurst driver, and I remind you, he's Trofeo Pirelli champion from the UK last year, racing in Europe this year and also in the UK at times. Hendrik Viol then takes P2. And here comes Klaus Sebranson to the top step of the podium. Handshakes all round, great camaraderie from all the competitors.
the winners on the podium,
Okay,
Formula
the,
Racing team manager.
Podium presentations then, trophy presentations, I should say. They're not presented with a podium, are they? Tour there from Formula Racing is going to be representing the Klaus Zabrantzen team.
European and Africa Hub. The trophy for
Once
the
again,
third,
Renaud de Pauli, the head of European and Africa Hub for Ferrari, then making the trophy presentation to Andrew Morrow. 4 years ago, well, actually less than 4 years ago, Andrew Morrow had never raced a car.
A very amazing race for
Impressive
Hendrik Viol.
stuff. Hendrik Viol takes P2. Andrew Morrow having received his P3 trophy.
And a new trophy for the
And on the top step of the
winner,
podium, the race winner is Klaus Zabrantzen.
the winner of this race 1, Nürburgring. And the trophy for the team Formula
Team,
Racing.
trophy
the trophy for the guys of Formula Racing.
He presented to Tour from Formula Racing.
And Lucio Vergani,
And once again, Pirelli
Motorsport
Motorsports,
manager,
the
presents
Pirelli
the
Award
trophy, Pirelli trophy
by
for
Lucio Vergani to Klaus Zabrantzen.
And all together on the podium.
So the
All
podium
driver, lift
becomes
your
a very
trophy
busy place
and,
then.
Look, photographs on the pit lane.
As
Okay.
all the
Thank you so much. 5 seconds, leave the podium, our guest.
all our podium
And,
presenters
now
and
the show is not
trophy
over without
winners.
champagne.
And it was Morrow that did the deal in terms of the champagne race. It was Andrew Morrow that was the quickest. He drives for the Charles Hurst team and he takes P3. For Scuderia Prague. Of course, we'll be heading to the Brno circuit in the Czech Republic next year. Hendrik Viol, P2. Probably a very important win for Klaus Zabrantzen and Formula Racing, P1. In the Drivers' Championship, then Giacomo Altoe, P1. It's Benz Valent, P2, and Philip Barron, P3 in terms of Trofeo Pirelli drivers in the championship. Then Ludwig Mugelli, Glock, Timo. And this is the corrected version. It is Giacomo Altoe ahead of Philip Barron and Ben Valent, now the 1, 2, 3 in the Drivers' Championship. And then the rest of the drivers you can see there, including the Engstler father and son combo, P9 and P10 in the Drivers' Championship. Franz Engstler and Luca Engstler. So we'll take a look at the Trofeo Pirelli Am Drivers' Championship, where Klaus Zabrantzen is P1. Now, Hendrik Viol has moved up to P2 in the Drivers' Championship, just 30 points behind Klaus Zabrantzen, with Marco Zanassi dropping down to P3. Now, I say just 30 points. Hendrik probably needs Klaus to fall over once or twice for him to have a realistic chance, I would have thought, Nico, of being able to take a dent.
Yeah, it could come down to the race tomorrow, but Hendrik Viol, of course, will try and move the decision all the way to the final event, and you never know what happens. So, great racing and great performance. Hendrik Viol, for me, race of the day thus far. That was quite an achievement, the second half of what he did there.
I agree with you, as I often do, to be fair. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was an awesome Trofeo Pirelli race where I don't know where the 30 minutes plus 1 lap went, because they seemed to go in a heartbeat. It was so busy, so much going on. Thanks to all the drivers for delivering a great race, and thanks to my colleague Nico alongside me. And thank you to you for watching. Of course, we have another race to come a little bit later from the Nürburgring, as our Copa Shell drivers and 488 drivers will take to the track. Bye-bye for now.